Hey there, y'all. This is Homesteading at Kooker. Simber talking to you now. I wanted to share with you today some of the limitations of drying clothes on a clothesline, especially when that's your only option. I don't know if many of you are aware, but we do not have access to a dryer currently. I haven't since I've been out here on this property, so that's been about 4 years that I've been without a dryer at the house. We do have a dryer, but we don't think the connection is very safe. We don't know exactly how the previous owners installed the pipe or the vent through which the lint will go, and it just goes straight up into the attic, and there's no enclosure or anything to capture that. Because of the way our house is built, in order to have that vent be vented outside so that the lint comes outside, we would have to go up through the roof, or we would have to go up and over and then down through the underside, because our laundry room is kind of in the middle of the house instead of being on an outside wall. If it was on an outside wall, it'd be no problem. We'd just cut a little hole and put the vent through, and it'd be, down low, like you normally see with houses. But that's not the way this particular house was built. So with all those considerations, we have just opted to be 100% clothesline drying. It works out. I mean, everything gets done, but there are definitely limitations. For example, one of the times when it's decidedly inconvenient is whenever everybody is sick, especially our son and me, and he had a rough night last night. We ended up having to put him on the bed with us to keep him sleeping at an angle, basically propped up instead of laying down, because all of a sudden in a matter of minutes, thankfully we hadn't gone to sleep yet, but we heard him getting more rattly in his chest, and then he woke up and he was coughing, and he sounded hoarse like he'd been coughing for days, and he hadn't. He just started coughing when he woke up that time, so he had a lot of congestion in his chest, and anyway, so we brought him on the bed. So there's nose drainage stuff on the on the bedding, and then his diaper wasn't the greatest for the compression leak, so we actually had 2 leaks on the bed. So again, that meant we had to do some laundry, even though it was forecasted to rain this afternoon. So one of the limitations is the amount of space on your line. That's how many clothes you can wash at one time until they're dry. Now, the best way to do this, if you have multiple loads, especially with little kids' clothes. Little kids' clothes, you can put a lot in a washing machine, but they take up a lot of space on the line. We probably could have fit another load on this clothesline. However, I didn't want to run the risk of not having enough space, because if we don't have enough space for the 2 loads, like everything in those 2 loads, then we have to put them on our drying racks in the house and turn on a fan. Well, it's already pretty chilly out here, and we've been using the heater in our room to keep us warm. And so I want to avoid that if I can. But if we have to, on days or weeks when it's raining consistently multiple days in a row and we have to get a load of laundry done, that's what we'll do. We'll wash, and then we'll dry it inside on the drying racks with a fan, one of those heavy duty industrial type blower fans blowing on it. And it takes it a while to dry that way as well, but at least that's an alternative when we can't dry clothes on the line whenever the weather is not conducive. So space is a limitation, the weather is a limitation, the number of clothes you can do at a time is a limitation, because when you have a washer dryer, you wash, you dry, and then you might have to wait a little bit for one load to finish drying in the dryer, but usually it's not that much longer, maybe 20 minutes. Well, it could be a couple of hours longer on the clothesline if you're waiting for the first set of clothes to dry before you do your next set. So, as I was trying to allude to earlier, you can stage your washings so that if you do a load early in the morning, get that on the line, give it a few hours. Well, I say a few. It depends on the time of year. If it's in the summer, yeah, 2-3 hours, maybe 4 max, and your clothes should be dry. In the winter, when it's cold and kind of humid and such, it takes a lot longer. And sometimes we can put something out in the morning and it'll still be kind of damp by the time we bring it back in at night. So we either have to, like lay it on the bed in a one layered so that everything gets the hot air from the infrared heater on it, or we have to put them on the drying rack. But if you can stage it, you can actually do 3 or 4 loads in a day on a good weather day. Another limitation of the clothesline is you're going to have wrinkles in whatever you wash. Now, I do want to do another video here before too long about ways you can lessen, the severity of wrinkles on your laundry. Now, obviously for us, we don't care about the linens. That's just going on our bed. We don't have people coming over and inspecting our bedroom. So we don't worry about that. But like if it's a dress shirt or jeans, there are steps you can take to help make sure it's a little more presentable without having to iron it. Now, obviously, if you want it perfectly, creased and pressed, you would have to iron it. But honestly, I don't even have, well, I guess technically I have an antique ironing table, but I don't use it as an ironing board. Because most of what we buy is either matte jersey so that it doesn't have to be ironed and you just kind of shake it out and the wrinkles come out. Or I try to do the finger ironing, like I'm going to do that video soon. And then other than that, we just kind of don't really care for our everyday clothes. But again, if it's an important event like going to a wedding, you will have to do